In this world, music has the power to save millions of lives. Yet tragically, it couldn't always save the very souls who created it. R&B has healed broken hearts, comforted the lonely, and given voice to pain no one else could express. But behind those timeless melodies were artists who endured violence so deep that no song could ever erase it. They sang with voices that made the world weep, while silently bleeding behind the curtain. Their cries for help were often drowned out by applause. The brighter the spotlight, the darker the shadows that followed them home. Every sorrowful lyric carried an unhealed wound. Every lingering note masked moments when blood and tears were quietly wiped away, smearing makeup meant to hide the truth. The 17 stories you're about to hear expose the physical suffering and emotional scars these R&B legends concealed beneath their glamorous image. If you believe their lives were nothing but fame and fortune, these stories will shatter that illusion forever. Tina Turner. A name that once shook arenas, an R&B legend whose life looked like pure fire and freedom, yet for years, she was trapped in a marriage that felt more like a prison than a partnership. Tina Turner became synonymous with explosive stage energy and immortal hits like Proud Mary, Nutbush City Limits, and What's Love Got to Do with It. Night after night, she commanded crowds, pouring raw rock grit and soulful R&B into every lyric, every scream, every step. But behind that dazzling glow lived a darker truth. For nearly 2 decades, Tina endured a private nightmare where violence drowned out love. In 1962, in Memphis, Tennessee, she married Ike Turner, a man she once believed would lift her into stardom. Instead, that promise became a cage built from fear, control, and relentless abuse. The fame rose. The bruises followed. Who could have imagined it? Offstage, the woman with untamed hair and fearless movement was beaten with fists, electrical cords, and metal hangers, sometimes just hours before a performance. Tina would stand before a mirror, carefully layering makeup over swelling and scars, then walk on stage smiling as if nothing had happened. In 1968, at the height of her success, the thought of leaving crossed her mind, and that single thought unleashed Ike's fury. That night, Tina collapsed onto the floor with a shattered jaw, her face bruised deep purple, her eyes swollen shut. She spent 2 weeks in the hospital, her body broken and her spirit bleeding. Yet even after that, she stayed, enduring 6 more years of terror behind closed doors. People said she stayed because of love. But in 1974 in Los Angeles, a city built on bright lights and second chances, darkness followed her into the recording studio. Ike once pressed a gun to her head, threatening to kill her if she didn't perform. He controlled her clothes, her words, her movements. Friends disappeared. Family drifted away. Tina became a living ornament in Ike's twisted fantasy of power. Few knew she once fled barefoot to a hotel balcony in the middle of the night, desperate for help, only to return, terrified of what would happen if she were caught. Then came July 1, 1976, in Dallas, Texas. Inside a luxury limousine, Tina endured another brutal beating. This time, she didn't cry. She waited. When the car stopped, she threw the door open and ran into the pitch-black night with nothing but 36 cents in her pocket. She stumbled into a hotel, clothes torn, shaking, begging the receptionist to call the police. That night, Tina Turner broke free from 16 years of marital captivity. She walked away with nothing, no money, no possessions, only her name. But the scars didn't fade quickly. For years, nightmares haunted her sleep, and therapy became her path through the trauma etched deep in her soul. Who could believe that the fierce woman commanding stages worldwide once cowered against a wall, trembling at the sound of her husband's footsteps? Tina Turner showed the world that no amount of violence could silence her fire. She escaped the nightmare, rebuilt from nothing, and rose again, singing with a roar so powerful it erased the past and proved that her voice would never be broken. R. Kelly, the villain's origin story. Long before the headlines, the courtrooms, and the public downfall, there was a child growing up in silence. R. Kelly once ruled the world of R&B, owning the 1990s with timeless hits like I Believe I Can Fly, Ignition, Remix, and Bump and Grind. His smooth vocals and seductive melodies became the soundtrack of a generation. On stage, he looked untouchable. Off stage, he was haunted by a past he could never outrun. That past began in Chicago's South Side in 1975, a place shaped by poverty, sirens in the night, and cramped apartments soaked in desperation. 8-year-old Robert Kelly lived in a small bedroom while his mother worked overnight shifts at a diner. Each night, she left him in the care of an older cousin. Each night, the bedroom door closed. What followed stole his childhood. Kelly was pulled from his bed and subjected to acts no child could understand. Even the bathroom offered no refuge. He was threatened into silence, overpowered, and terrorized, taught early that crying would only make things worse. By the time he was 10, fear had trained him to suffer quietly. When he once tried to fight back, the punishment was swift and brutal, leaving him broken and wordless. He spent night after night locked in that room, curled into himself, swallowing tears in the dark, weeks turning into months, months into years. The sound of footsteps and the creak of a wooden door became his private nightmare. By 14, his body had grown strong enough to resist. But the damage was already done. Kelly stepped into adulthood carrying invisible scars. The memories followed him. Into his dreams, into his relationships, into every room where someone stood too close behind him. Fans saw confidence, charm, and control. Inside, he was still that terrified child, trapped in a moldy bedroom with nowhere to run. As fame, money, and sold-out arenas arrived, the trauma never loosened its grip. His understanding of love, power, and intimacy was deeply distorted. Scandals piled up. Lawsuits followed. Convictions came. The empire he built collapsed, and the world branded him a monster. Few paused to consider the 8-year-old boy who was silenced long before he ever found his voice. Perhaps that unresolved darkness fueled everything that followed. Art. Kelly made beautiful music, but his mind was never free. When the truth finally surfaced, it became clear. He never truly escaped the shadow that claimed him first. Mary J. Blige. The undisputed queen of R&B. The voice of pain, survival, and truth. But behind the anthems that healed millions was a woman trapped for nearly 17 years in a cage she couldn't see. Mary Blige didn't just sing What's the 411, My Life, and No More Drama. She lived them. In the 90s, no one captured raw heartbreak like Mary. Her voice bled because her life did. And just when she thought she'd found safety, the nightmare tightened its grip. In 2001, Mary married Kendu Isaacs, believing he would be her refuge from addiction and emotional chaos. Instead, behind closed doors, he became her warden. From New York to Los Angeles, Kendu followed her every move, controlling not just her life, but her money. Every dollar from albums, tours, and endorsements flowed through him. Mary worked endlessly. Kendu spent freely. No explanations. No records. An estimated $10 million disappeared into thin air. Mary stayed quiet. Even at home, her legendary voice was silenced. In 2008, as she prepared Growing Pains, Mary sat in a business meeting and endured public humiliation. In front of her own team, Kendu tore her down, calling her useless, saying she couldn't sing, claiming her success existed only because of him. Each word landed like a punch. Instead of lifting her when she was fragile, he crushed her spirit. Mary fled to her car, swallowed the pain, and walked back on stage, his insults echoing in her head as she pushed through tour dates. And still, she didn't leave. By then, manipulation had done its work. She was convinced she was nothing without him. In 2014, the control turned darker. Inside their Los Angeles home, Kendu confronted Mary with her secret diary, handwritten pages exposing her depression, self-blame, and buried trauma. He weaponized her most private thoughts, threatening to expose her mental struggles if she ever spoke out. By that point, Mary was completely isolated. No close friends. No mother. No sister nearby. Every call was screened. Every visit required permission. The queen of R&B had become a controlled performer, a puppet who sang on command. At night, she drank heavily, trying to drown the memories. On stage, she sang No More Drama. At home, she was submerged in it. For years, her confidence was stripped away piece by piece. Fans saw a survivor, a healer, a symbol of strength, while Mary quietly unraveled. She carried the burden alone, smiling under the spotlight while breaking in the dark. Then, in 2018, the final chain snapped. After a brutal divorce battle, Mary J. Blige walked free. In court, she faced the stolen millions, the threats, and years of psychological abuse. Slowly, she relearned how to trust, how to manage her own money, reconnect with family, and speak without fear. Mary J. Blige had sung about freedom her entire career. But only then did she truly feel it, when the parasite was removed and the control was gone. This story forces us to see Mary differently, not just as a legend, but as a woman who escaped a prison she once believed was paradise. James Brown. James Brown, the godfather of soul, was forged in a childhood of hunger, cold, and the sting of leather on torn skin. The world remembers him for Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, I Got You, I Feel Good, for blinding stage lights, razor-sharp suits, and dance moves that shaped funk, soul, and R&B forever. But long before the glamour, James Brown was a terrified child growing up in a drafty wooden shack, where whips, sticks, and cruel words carved fear into his body before he could even understand it. In 1936, his parents abandoned him with an aunt in Barnwell, South Carolina. Nights followed the same grim ritual. James slept curled inside an old storage shed, holding his breath when he heard footsteps in the kitchen. If his name was called, punishment was coming. By morning, he was pushed onto the streets, shining shoes for strangers with a rag, begging for spare change. Some days he sang until his throat burned, earning only a few coins. At sunset, dread returned, the leather strap hanging by the door like a silent threat. In 1940, starving at just 7 years old, James stole a stale loaf of bread. His aunt caught him, dragged him outside, and whipped him again and again with a belt. His shirt split open. Neighbors watched and turned away. To them, he was just another unwanted child in a house forever short on food. The beatings continued. The insults never stopped. Shame clung to James from the age of 3 until nearly 12. Winters were brutal, no heat, a leaking roof, icy wind slicing through cracked wood. He huddled in old sacks, shivering through endless nights in that shed. Over time, James hardened. He absorbed the blows, the curses, but the fear of abandonment sank deep. Those scars never left him. On stage, he commanded crowds, shouting "I feel good" with absolute authority. Off stage, he trusted no one. He controlled his band, feared betrayal, lashed out in jealousy, terrified of being left behind once more. People called James Brown strong. That strength was armor. Beneath it lived the boy who trembled under a raised whip. The funk, the soul, the rock and roll spectacle hid memories of hunger and frozen nights in a broken shed in Barnwell. James Brown was reborn through music, but his childhood echoed forever with the crack of leather and scars that lasted a lifetime. Fantasia Barrino. Fantasia Barrino. From American Idol's most beloved voice to a childhood shattered by abuse and a woman trapped in emotional control. Fantasia Barrino electrified Season 3 audiences, turning songs like Free Yourself, Truth Is, and When I See You into raw confessions of pain and power. Her voice was volcanic, unfiltered, aching, unforgettable. Yet behind the glamour, the applause, and the crown, Fantasia often cried herself to sleep, even at the height of her fame. In 1992, in High Point, North Carolina, 8-year-old Fantasia was left with a trusted family acquaintance. He was supposed to protect her. Instead, that afternoon in a quiet living room, he stole her innocence. He forced her into acts she couldn't comprehend, silencing her tears with violence whenever she tried to cry. Fear carved itself into her soul and lingered long after the bruises faded. The nightmare didn't end there. It returned again and again, in hallways, in empty rooms, whenever no one else was home. Fantasia grew afraid of the dark, of solitude, of human touch. By 2004, she believed she had escaped when she stepped onto the Idol stage, microphone trembling in her hand, transforming trauma into triumph. She won. America celebrated. But the happiness didn't last. Antoine Cook entered her life as a lover and slowly became her jailer. He controlled her career, blocked opportunities, dictated contracts and performances. The brighter Fantasia's star shined, the tighter his grip became. He never raised a fist, but he dismantled her confidence, measuring her against Beyoncé, reminding her she would never be enough. In 2009, a life-changing record deal appeared, promising freedom, a new album, a larger tour. Cook refused to let her sign. After a Charlotte show, he shoved the contract back at her, demanding she walk away. He threatened to leave, to expose her private struggles, to destroy her if she chose independence. Years of hard-earned success were erased in an instant. Fantasia was reduced to a voice without control, a puppet singing someone else's rules. The pressure broke her. In August 2010, overwhelmed by humiliation and despair, Fantasia collapsed on her bed and tried to end her life. That night, she nearly disappeared forever. Doctors saved her body, but her memories stayed. Years of therapy followed, yet she continued performing, smiling under the lights, pouring her pain into every note. When the stage went dark, the ghosts returned. The terrified 8-year-old in the corner. The teenager trapped with a man threatening her dreams. No one in the crowd suspected that the spotlight was only a flicker in a life shaped by survival. Rihanna, a luxury car, a deep wound, and a single night that would haunt her forever. The Caribbean girl who stormed the pop and R&B world with Umbrella, Disturbia, and Love the Way You Lie shattered boundaries with her voice, her fashion, her fearless image, captivating fans across the globe. But at the height of her fame, there was one night she would give anything to erase. February 8, 2009. Los Angeles. The pre-Grammy party was supposed to be a fairy tale moment for music's hottest couple, Rihanna and Chris Brown. Instead, inside a sleek Lamborghini, her life spiraled into a nightmare. A glance at his phone revealed a text from another woman. Words turned sharp. Tempers exploded. Then the first punch landed near Hancock Park. Trapped in her seat with nowhere to run, Rihanna endured blow after blow. Brown didn't stop. He pummeled her face until her left eye swelled shut and her lips split as she raised her arms to protect herself. He grabbed her hand and bit it, then clamped down on her right ear with his teeth. On stage, Rihanna was fiery, good girl gone bad, bold and untouchable. But behind that closed car door, she was just a terrified young woman, curled into herself, absorbing every hit. His hands closed around her neck, choking off her breath until she nearly lost consciousness. The car sat still on a dark street. No one came. No one heard her screams. 10 minutes felt like an eternity. Dazed and barely conscious, Rihanna was shoved out of the car as Brown sped away, leaving her alone like a shattered doll in the night. She was rushed to Cedars-Sinai, where even doctors were shaken by the extent of her injuries. The scandal exploded across headlines, yet few paused to consider how deeply traumatized she was. One violent night carved scars that would follow her for years. Shows were canceled. Deals trembled. Long after the bruises faded, therapy remained a necessity. The punches, the bites, the choking hands never truly disappeared. They resurfaced whenever his name appeared in the news, leaving her guarded, wary, and changed. Rihanna's image, fierce, sexy, unbreakable, seemed invincible to the world. But only she carried the memory of that Lamborghini, arms shielding her head, powerless beneath the fists of the man who once promised to protect her. Cissy Houston. Cissy Houston, the gospel queen, endured a childhood marked by silent suffering and unseen cruelty. Long before she became the golden voice behind the sweet inspirations, lighting up studios with soul-stirring songs like I'll Be There and helping shape the sound of gospel and R&B across America, her life was shadowed by pain few ever knew. Born in Newark, New Jersey, in the 1940s, Cissy lost her parents at a young age, and with them, any sense of safety. By the time she was 10, she was sent to live in a cramped house that was called family, but felt more like a prison. She grew quiet, almost invisible. Older siblings and relatives barked commands instead of offering comfort. While other children played outside, Cissy was forbidden to join them. Her days were consumed by endless chores, scrubbing mountains of laundry in a rusted metal tub, cooking for a crowded household, hauling water, and cleaning until her hands ached. A moment's delay or a missed task triggered streams of verbal abuse that cut deeper than any wound. In 1945, when she was just 12, exhaustion caught up with her. After spending hours washing filthy blankets, dinner was late. Her aunt, consumed with rage, grabbed a rope and whipped Sissy's back again and again. The bruises faded after days, but the fear stayed for a lifetime. She learned to freeze when voices rose, to hold her breath when anger filled the room. Words like freeloader echoed through her teenage years. No one ever saw her smile in that house, only a fragile girl shivering through winter, scrubbing floors in silence. Yet even within those walls, her voice began to rise. In church, she sang gospel with everything she had, pouring her pain into every note. People praised her gift, but inside her mind replayed the same cruel whispers. Useless, shut up. Applause could never fully drown out the sound of ropes cracking through the air. At night, she whispered prayers, begging God to free her from the nightmares that returned again and again. Years later, she would have it all: microphones, spotlights, records playing across the nation. But the memories never truly left. The insults, the humiliation, even being dunked in dirty water lingered inside the power of her voice. To the world, Sissy Houston appeared unbreakable. Few realized that her unwavering faith was the only lifeline keeping her from sinking into despair. Without it, who knows if she could have stood tall, lifted her voice, and shown the world that a wounded child could still move a room and a generation with song. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye, the soul and R&B icon whose voice moved the world, was shaped long before What's Going On, Let's Get It On, and Sexual Healing. Beneath that velvet sound lived a childhood soaked in fear, blood, and silence. Born in Washington, D.C. in the 1940s, Marvin learned pain before he learned the alphabet. By age 3, he knew the sound of his father's belt cracking through the room, and how to cry without being heard. Every night inside their smoke-filled, suffocating home felt like a trial. His father preached righteousness while ruling through terror. A hymn sung off-key. A meal eaten too slowly. Any small mistake invited punishment: a leather strap, a tree branch, or a clenched fist. At 14, in 1953, Marvin dared to defy him by joining a doo-wop group, believing music might be his way out. Instead, escape came with a metallic taste of blood. His father beat him mercilessly, shouting insults, calling him a disgrace unworthy of the gay name. Applause on stage only meant more bruises at home. From ages 3 to 17, Marvin lived between blows and melodies, using music to soothe wounds no one ever bandaged. Fans later said his voice carried heartbreak because it was born from it. His passion hid scars that never healed. To numb the pain, he turned to cocaine, alcohol, and endless touring, temporary shields against lifelong trauma. Then, on April 1, 1984, in Los Angeles, a simple argument over insurance papers erupted into the unimaginable. The same man who once punished with a belt now reached for a gun. A single gunshot shattered the house. Marvin collapsed, killed in the place he should have been safest. His lifelong escape from violence ended in violence itself. The world mourned Marvin Gaye, the singer of love, protest, and redemption, while confronting a brutal truth. Sometimes the hand that destroys a genius belongs to the same blood, the same name, the same voice of morality that haunted his childhood. Etta James. Etta James, the timeless voice behind At Last and I'd Rather Go Blind, could shatter hearts with a single note. Her singing carried a sorrow so real it felt lived in. And it was. Long before the standing ovations, her childhood was soaked in fear and pain few could imagine. Around 1943, 5-year-old Etta was placed with non-biological guardians in a rundown Los Angeles home where love was replaced by cruelty. They didn't teach her to sing, they beat her into it. Day and night, one missed note meant punishment. Whips, hands, electrical cords, whatever was nearby became a weapon. In 1946, at just 8 years old, Etta was struck across the back for singing off-key during a church choir rehearsal. The bruises lingered for days. She retreated into silence, curled up in her room, frightened and humiliated. Labeled a parentless child, she endured endless taunts that deepened her isolation. She barely spoke, afraid of people, afraid of being heard. Those beatings stole her childhood and pushed her toward escape, into alcohol, drugs, and darkness. The pain in her voice wasn't crafted for performance, it was carved into her skin and soul. Singing terrified her, yet it also saved her. That same wounded voice pulled her back from the abyss, and gave the world a sound we still feel at last. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was brought to her knees not by the stage lights, but by the man she loved most. The golden voice behind "I Will Always Love You" and "Saving All My Love for You" reigned as the undisputed queen of R&B ballads and gospel, appearing untouchable as the world hung on her every note. Yet behind the gates of her lavish homes, Whitney was living a private nightmare. In 1992, fans watched her glow beside Bobby Brown, unaware that inside their Atlanta mansion, she endured slaps, kicks, and relentless verbal abuse. By 1995, a violent blow left her cheek visibly swollen after she dared to refuse a party Brown insisted on throwing. He tightened his control, dictating her schedule, isolating her from friends, while industry peers cruelly dismissed her as a washed-up addict, all in plain sight. No one stepped in. Years under Brown's shadow drove Whitney deeper into drugs and alcohol, slowly dimming the voice the world once worshipped. She finally broke free in 2007, but the damage was already etched into her spirit. The scars followed her to the very end, haunting one of the greatest voices music has ever known. Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday, the golden voice born in the shadows of brutality. The jazz legend behind Lover Man and Good Morning Heartache moved the world with a sound so tender it could shatter hearts. But that haunting beauty was forged in fear, trauma, and relentless pain. Few know that behind her spellbinding voice was a childhood stolen by terror. In 1925, in Baltimore, 10-year-old Billie was trapped in a nightmare when a cousin repeatedly dragged her into dark corners of their shared room, forcing her to endure unspeakable abuse. Her cries were met with threats, her silence bought with fear. She ran when she could, only to be dragged back again. The violence followed her into adulthood. Between 1937 and 1947, lovers and husbands became her tormentors. In 1942, musician Joe Guy struck her for refusing to hand over her earnings. Each relationship ended in bruises and heartbreak. Beaten down by cruelty and humiliation, Billie sought escape in alcohol and heroin. Her sorrowful voice wasn't just music, it was a quiet confession of a life soaked in pain. Aretha Franklin. The Queen of Soul could command a room with Chain of Fools and a natural woman, yet offstage her life was tightly controlled. While she ruled the charts, she did not rule her own world. In 1961, Aretha married Ted White, her manager and self-appointed authority, who controlled her money and kept her in the dark whenever she questioned him. In 1964, inside their Detroit home, his anger turned violent after she refused to record a song he demanded. He struck her, leaving bruises on her shoulder and arm. Still, she went on stage that very night, singing through the pain. He mocked her in front of her band, calling her ungrateful and slowly breaking down her confidence. 7 years of fear pushed Aretha toward alcohol as a way to survive. When the marriage ended in 1969, it took years for her to fully reclaim her strength. Yet the echoes of that trauma never left, lingering in the depth and ache of her voice until the very end. Chris Brown. An R&B prodigy whose rise to fame couldn't outrun the shadows of a brutal childhood. With chart-topping hits like Run It and No Air, Chris Brown electrified a generation, blending R&B, pop, and hip-hop into instant superstardom. But behind the spotlight was a scared boy growing up in Tappahannock, Virginia, trapped in a home ruled by fear. From the age of 5, Chris lived under the wrath of his stepfather, Donald Hawkins, a man whose temper turned daily life into a battlefield. A dropped object meant fists. A mistake meant terror. At just 8 years old, Chris was kicked in the stomach for breaking a glass, then forced to scrub the kitchen floors through the night. No one stepped in. No one spoke up. And slowly, neither did Chris. Missed chores brought insults. Silence was safer than crying. Slaps became more common than meals, and Hawkins' cruel words, calling him worthless and weak, carved deep scars that never healed. Between 1994 and 2001, peace was something Chris never knew. The violence planted a rage that lay dormant, waiting. Years later, that buried trauma erupted. The 2009 incident with Rihanna wasn't born overnight. It was the explosion of pain no one ever noticed, a ticking time bomb forged in childhood abuse. As an adult, Chris turned to therapy, confronting the past he'd spent years running from, hoping to understand the boy he was and save the man he'd become. Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton. An R&B icon whose voice moved millions, yet whose life was quietly suffocated by control. While Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again dominated the charts, Toni spent more than 12 years trapped inside a stifling marriage. Beginning in 2001, her husband and manager, Carrie Lewis, reportedly controlled every aspect of her life: contracts, schedules, finances, even when she was allowed to rest. Despite battling lupus, Toni was pushed onto the stage while her body was failing her. In 2008, she was allegedly threatened with having her illness exposed if she dared to pause her tour. Lewis also cut her off from her Braxton sisters, isolating her completely. By day, Toni smiled and sang her heart out. By night, she hid behind antidepressants, terrified of financial collapse as her wealth remained in his hands. It wasn't until 2013 that she finally broke free, but the damage lingered, etched into the pain and vulnerability that still echo through her voice. Keyshia Cole. Keyshia Cole. A voice powerful enough to heal millions, yet silenced by the man who shared her bed. The R&B star behind Let It Go and I Should Have Cheated built a career on raw emotion and truth. From the outside, her life glittered as brightly as her stage lights. Behind closed doors, it was a different story. By 2009, Keyshia was slowly fading inside her own home. Daniel Gibson, once her protector, became her prison. He monitored her every move, tore down her confidence, mocked her as a second-rate singer, and tried to strip her career away, pushing her into the role of a housewife. In 2011, after secretly stepping into the studio, his fury exploded. A phone was hurled at her face. The abuse didn't stop there. Threats followed, shows were canceled, and motherhood was weaponized to keep her trapped. Her finances were no longer hers. 6 long years of control left Keyshia battling anxiety and fear. She finally broke free in 2014, but the emotional knots of love, marriage, and trauma didn't disappear overnight. Some scars don't fade when the door finally closes. Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown rose from the streets to set R&B on fire with hits like My Prerogative, Every Little Step, and the explosive success of New Edition. To the world, it looked like destiny had handpicked him for stardom. But behind the fame was a boy growing up in a decaying Roxbury home, carrying scars from a childhood wrapped in fear and silence. His earliest memories weren't of music, but of his father's belt. Herbert Brown ruled with violence, forcing young Bobby into grueling chores and strict discipline. Even singing came with rules. No secular music, no joy. One wrong note meant punishment. At just 9 years old, Bobby was beaten by his own mother, his face left swollen before being locked away for singing street songs to earn coins. The pain in his body faded faster than the ache in his heart. The tighter he was controlled, the harder he pushed back, drifting into gangs and drugs long before adulthood. Even when fame arrived, the shadows never left. That buried trauma slowly chipped away at his voice, his image, and his peace. The public saw a reckless, uncontrollable star. Few understood the whips, the insults, and the crushed dreams that turned a gifted child's love for music into a lifelong battle, one that would ultimately unravel everything Bobby built on stage. Kelly Price. Kelly Price. A name that would one day heal millions, yet it was forged in a childhood scarred by cruelty. Known as a friend, a healer, and a powerhouse vocalist who sent chills through gospel and R&B, few ever knew the anguish that lived beneath her voice. Born into a childhood shrouded in darkness, Kelly learned fear far too young. By the age of 5, every footstep of her stepfather echoed through their cramped Queens apartment, not as reassurance, but as a warning. He unloaded his rage on her small frame, hurling curses, forcing her to scrub floors from dawn until nightfall. In August of 1981, a single spilled mop bucket ended with a book flung at her head. She shrank into herself, eyes lowered, body trembling, desperate to avoid his icy stare. But there was no refuge inside that crumbling home. Words like obese and useless carved themselves into her spirit, wounds that followed her into adolescence. Those voices fed her insecurities, driving her toward food for comfort and music for survival. In the 1990s, Kelly finally sought therapy, bravely untangling the trauma that had shaped her inner world. The frightened little girl clutching a cleaning rag would grow into a voice that soothed, strengthened, and saved others just like her. They sing for the world, but who hears their pain when the lights go out? Behind the spotlight, many artists battle scars that never fully heal. Stories like these change how we see fame and the faces we idolize. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that reveal the shadows behind the glittering curtain of the entertainment world.